Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my guest is Juan Munoz. Juan, you want to start off by giving everybody a bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Juan Munoz, born and raised Houston, Texas, but I've been living in Denver, Colorado since 2016. I'm a former NASA engineer that turned full-time realtor, and yeah.
You know what? That's such a big a statement that you just like shrugged off like that was nothing. Going from a NASA engineer to a real estate investor. Okay, maybe I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like, how did that transition happen? Was there a life issue that happened? Like you couldn't do the job anymore? Like, it's just interesting to leave NASA to do real estate. Sounds like a big jump.
Well, for me, I went to Texas A&M for electrical engineering, business minor. Then I worked for Boeing in Everett, to work on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, primary
Okay.
parts of subsystems. And then I got my master's there. Boeing paid for it, which was Washington State. And I was there 3.5 years. Great time, great company, made a lot of great friends there, learned how to snowboard there, met my wife there. She was on the 777 program, and I met her on the Boeing intramural softball fields. And anyway, so then I got a job back in my hometown with Johnson Space Center, Houston, right, working on the NASA International Space Station. And then I was the solar array wing hardware owner and sequential shunt unit hardware owner. So I went back there 6.5 years. And then after that, I got to Centennial, Colorado, which is just a little bit south of Denver, to work for Sierra Nevada Corporation, not brewery. People always like, oh, brewery, and like, no, corporation. Anyway, I got my secret clearance there and everything, and I was working, on a Air Force updated air trainer pilot aircraft, and I did that for like a year and a half, and then I stopped getting funded, and I went to Sierra Space, which is a subsidiary of Sierra Nevada Corporation, which was like the mini space shuttle, like the Dream Chaser is called.
Okay.
And anyway, I was there, but before I even moved over here, like I had a friend that was doing like roofs. And like after hailstorms in Houston, I would go knock on doors and then get on the roof and see if it was insured, covered, and everything. And he told me about his margins and his renovations and all that. And so I kind of went down that biggerpockets.com rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
Of the investing side of things. And, the wholesale, hotel, type of thing, and knowing what my friend did, on the side. Well, I did it. I was looking at it from like he was doing it full time. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of got me thinking and going down the rabbit hole. And then when I was in Colorado, I did fix and flips, and JV and hard money and all that, of course, and analyzing, of course, got it onto a course and the Cody Sperber and the other, investors and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got my license, right, as a realtor to sell my own fix and flips, and I also had like a Airbnb in Milwaukee that I never set foot in or never saw in person, that I had for 3.5 years. And then I would help my own clients flip their own homes, right? Because I was funding it for them and had my contractors and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was doing part-time agent for like 5 years, and I've been doing now full-time for like 4.5, 5 years, so about 10 years, And the transition, to answer your question, was engineering was great, right? Met some good people. The missions could be intense at times, but most of the time it was like the mundane stuff, like repetitive stuff. And for me, I wasn't your whatever, quote unquote, typical engineer, where I was super extrovert, super social, all the things. And I've always wanted more, right? It was never enough. Yes, I was grateful, right? Great paying job, Boeing, NASA, aerospace, and all that. But it just, I've always wanted more because with engineering or most jobs, what do you get? Like what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% raise every year,
Yeah.
just to keep you there. And so your output of work doesn't necessarily reflect what you think you're worth or how much you should have got.
Yeah.
And so with real estate and investing, you get out of it what you put into it. And I've always been instilled with it being a hard worker, right? Immigrant parents from Mexico, outwork everybody. No one cares, do the damn work, right? And so that was my,
Yeah.
mindset. And like, of course, hit the books, right? My mom was big on hitting the books, getting my degrees, getting education. That's what people care about. This. So look at us. We work hard, look harder than anybody, but because we don't have the degrees, we couldn't get further in life, right? And so with all the degrees and stuff, that was a big thing for especially my mom pushing it, right? My mom was a real vocal one. We're 2 days apart in our birthdays, and my dad was more like the silent one, the heart of gold, right? So.
Yeah. Awesome. So okay. So you transition now. You've left all the aerospace stuff. You're starting to do the flipping. Like, does you said part time? Like, how when did you make the transition? Like, what did
Oh,
you have a
yeah.
certain like salary level? Was there a certain like breaking point where you're like this is gonna
Yeah,
break off the bit?
I would say for a while I was trying to go full time, but my wife was like, "No, Juan, like you have your master's, you have your PMP certification, you work from home a lot of the time anyway."
Yeah.
And so I didn't do it for a while, good while actually, and because my wife was just scared, right? So I made it a point to like really save as much as I could, so that she wouldn't worry about it, because that was a big worry for her.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to change. We're used to certain lifestyle, right? And expenses, and we had babies and
Yeah.
daycare's ridiculous, all that. Anyway, the turning point I would say was like, let's just say I had a manager that I didn't click with, and a lot of people didn't actually, but I won't say anything bad. Um, but there was one point where let's just say we were talked down on, not just me, but the group of us. And I was like, that's it. I'm not dealing with this. I'm a big positive energy, good energy aura person,
Yeah.
and I didn't want that in my life. And I was getting really busy anyway. Like I was already really busy at it, where I was getting burnt out, right? Couldn't do both. And I really enjoyed real estate a lot more, you know, to where I said, forget this. I'm done with this. I don't need this. I don't deserve this. I'm going full time, right? And that's when I did with full time, and it was a great decision. Never looked back. Top 1% in Colorado, top 1.5% in the nation, and the team lead, and it's been great. Of course, there's always ups and downs, entrepreneurship, as you know.
Yeah.
But even on the downs, I learned from it, right? And you got me better, and that's that mindset I tend to have. Always get better, always improve. Don't say it was a failure. Say it was a learning experience that got you better, right? So,
Yeah. So, you mentioned that you did a lot of saving before you left your job. You don't have to give me a number, but like, was it a year's salary, a half year's, a quarter year's? Was there, for someone who's listening to this and going, "Hey, I'd love to make a transition to, doing this full time," or do you even recommend that you have a savings net like that? Are you interested in investing in the US? I honestly see Canadians making tons of mistakes, simple mistakes that could be avoided by just a quick phone call. Honestly, I think we should just get on a 15-minute call. You ask me some questions, I answer some questions, and I tell you a little bit about the coaching program. We see if it's a fit. My coaching program is completely different than other people's. What my goal is to help you actually implement the material. All the videos are pre-recorded, so you can just zip through those on your own time. But when you're actually buying property, this is what sets me apart, is that we actually sit down, you do your deal analysis, you have questions, ask me some questions. Let me go through it with you. Let me help you. And this is what's going to set it apart. This is why you're going to avoid mistakes. You're going to miss those little things that you just missed that could cost you a lot of money. Maybe I can see it. Maybe my experience. I've been doing this for a while down in the US. Let me help you. Let's do a quick 15-minute call. If that's of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com and you can book a 15-minute call. Anyway, hope this is helpful. Thanks, everyone.
well, it's going to be situational, right? But I think what the safety saving gurus out there, right,
Yeah.
will say 6 to 9 months, right? And I think I did, if I remember correctly, I think I did a year.
Yeah.
Just to have, like, of course, if I didn't have any income, what could I survive? I think it was a year.
Yeah.
That was in my mind. with including everything, right? Houses, cars, expenses, groceries, vacations, all the things, right? But the thing is too, like I still think like an engineer, even though I'm not an engineer. I wanted to know it all, right? And that's why I was part time because I was going to conferences, webinars, going to people, doing lunch and all the trainings and certifications and everything, right? Because I really wanted to feel like I knew my craft, right? And luckily for me, like sales and people and communication is my strength, right? It's like the DISC profile said it, the Strengths Finder said it, the Myers-Briggs assessment said it, and all that. So but then I had to build up the skill, behind real estate and analyze things, the data and all that, right? Um, but I would say really know what your niche is, really know that your skill and your craft, and really know what's working for you. I wouldn't say go willy-nilly and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna bet on myself and do it." Yes, bet on yourself, but have a calculated risk, know what you're doing, feel confident in doing, enjoy what you're doing, right? Before committing, you know, and leaving your full-time job, right? Because, you know, it doesn't always work out. Most of the time it will, of course, because you have that fire in you. I think that's number
Even
one
at
for
the
sure.
start, you're going to have bumps. There's going to
Yeah.
be, I when I went to leave my job the first time, I had I think four air conditioners break in the exact same month, and I was just like, it was like a huge bill, and I was just like, whoa, okay, maybe I need a little bit more save just in case, because this was
Right.
a big one, like all at once, right? So it was,
Yeah.
I like what you're saying, and the other thing that popped in my head too, because you were talking about you had a property in Milwaukee, and you're also talking about doing a lot of realtoring stuff. Do you work in the same markets as you do the realtoring?
So I just do real estate as a realtor in the Denver metro area, surrounding areas. This
Yep.
other one was because a friend that I used to work with when I was an engineer was like really into like analyzing, getting into deals, and he had a pretty good deal on over through this. I think I forgot the company name, but I talked to them and they said, oh, has good margins. You can do this. So and it was like in Wisconsin as well, his. So I did mine over there, you know.
Yeah.
And I actually did long-term rental at first with them, and then I flipped it over, renovated it because it was like, kind of a little bit torn up by the renters, and did like the flipping. And I said, well, might as well Airbnb if I'm redoing it. And then I
Yeah.
hired this other third-party company to manage it, stage it, decorate it, and everything, and do that. And I also had like a exotic car rental business out of Scottsdale, Arizona, that I had hired someone to hire run out of there. I had a trucking business. But let's just say I learned from mistakes and say I'm gonna only invest in things that I have more influence slash control over the outcome and stay in my real estate expertise lane, right? So
Makes sense. And so if you're like working like, as a realtor in the Denver market, what are you seeing as the opportunities for investors? Is it like the flips? Is it the burrs? Is it even a different market than Denver? If you're a Canadian interested in US real estate, there's a 60-second quiz that will tell you the safest strategy based on your specific situation. Because here's the thing, there isn't one way to invest in the US as a Canadian. The right move depends on your budget, your risk tolerance, and what you actually want to get out of this. Most Canadians I talk to are stuck in the same spot. They know the US opportunity is real, they've done some research, but they're sitting on cash because they don't want to guess their way through setting up corporate structures, cross-border taxes, and picking the wrong market for the first deal. The mistake isn't lack of information, it's that generic US investing advice doesn't account for your situation as a Canadian. It doesn't account for your capital, your timeline, and your appetite to be hands-off or hands-on. So we built a 60-second quiz that gives you a personalized answer. Which US investment strategy fits you right, whether you're actually ready to buy or what to fix first, and the smartest next step based on where you're at. It's free, it takes about a minute, and you'll get a customized game plan at the end. And it's not a generic PDF. Go to a CanadianInvestingInTheUSA.com/quiz. It's also linked in the show notes. Take the quiz, get your game plan, stop guessing. You don't need to figure this out alone. You just need to know what your next move is.
I would say, the nation trends and things you hear out there are pretty, accurate with all the bigger metropolitan cities. And in Denver, of course, the interest rates and all that is deterring a lot of people from doing so. But from an investor side of things, there are, still opportunities. And then some people are upside down, right? Because of course, buying, when it was interest rates were below 3%. But a lot of people are like, can't do it. And there's a lot of more short sales going on, right?
Yeah.
And then, or people that are not in that position, they just keep the interest rate and rent it, you
Yeah.
know? But I mean, there is opportunity, but there's not as plentiful, I guess you could say. But other people might say there is because there's a lot of short sales going on, you know. And it depends on the area and everything, but the margins I would say are not as it once was, because before, as you know, like with rental, you could do the 2% rule, right?
Yeah.
Now you're trying to do the get lucky if you do the 1% rule, with the renting. So for me, like that's why like I ran into some stuff when I was doing flick and flip where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna enable my own clients to, be able to flip their own, be their own investor, and that's made me happy and really made an impact with people, you know. And then of course a lot of investors are like, oh, F you, we want those deals,
Yeah.
but I'm enabling my clients to flip their own home, right? So.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Oh, that's an interesting thing. So that's you're going from like a homeowner to hiring a contractor in order to get the biggest bang for your buck, right?
Right. So I'm giving them three options, right? I was like, hey, cash offer, yeah, you get it within 10 days, but it's convenience, it's fast. If it's an emergency, you really need it and it's applicable, cool. But you can get a lot less, right? But if it's a certain situation that fits your bill, great. That's what we'll do. Or option two, list as is with, minimal cleanup and things, not make it hazardous,
Yeah.
and then expose it to all the investors or DIYers out there, and then option three, list assist, right? Where I fund most of it, you know,
Yeah.
and then project manage it. And then, of course, it's a win-win-win because they net more, even though it takes a little bit longer. And my contractor gets work, and then get the percentage at a higher purchase price and sell it faster, right? So it's a win-win-win there. So as long as I have enough equity to be able to cover my fees, everything, you have to check that out first, of course,
Make
too.
sure it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And you just talk about like getting it faster. Like, what are you typically seeing for like days on market there?
It depends,
Well,
right,
yeah, it's
on
going to
the
depend on the
neighborhood.
neighborhood and
But
everything else,
if
and what
if
kind
you're
of.
trying to average it out, I think it's like I gotta check my email on that. But I think the title rep last time said, well, right now the latest data he gave out was it's about $10,000 concessions on average for every deal, and then for days on market, I think it's like 49 or something like that,
Okay.
you know. um 50 or something like that, but it
Yeah.
depends on the market because there's some like neighborhoods that are still on fire, right, and within the first weekend and it's gone. But then of course the other regular ones, I guess you could say, yeah, months before they even get on there. So
Well, about an average, yeah.
yeah.
Well, what should I have asked you? Is there any direction you wanted to go down that I can kind of take you there?
No, I mean, like you said, the transition was good. What ignited the transition for me, like I did like when you say the transition, the thing is like I did a lot of like self-development, self-discovery. What do I want to do in life? This is not enough for me. I've always wanted more. And so when I started doing that and looking at the Zig Ziglars, the Tony Robbins, all the things, that's one thing. Um, the common denominator of these like, successful people was they had a real estate portfolio, right? Whether it was big or small, they had that, right? So that what got me into that, path.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course having friends that were doing renovations and their before and afters and all that. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, real estate is limitless, right? Depending on what work you want to do, what niche you want to do, the next step for me, hopefully, I can get into it is like, doing scrapes and new builds, right? Development, if I could, you
Yeah.
know, because like, doing when I was working with an investor as a newbie agent, I was doing like so many comparative market analysis, right? And just submitted deals off the MLS or
Yeah.
bird dogging for people, and I learned a lot, you know. And that's when I was doing, listings at for them, and they paid for everything, and I listed for 1%, and that's
Yeah.
what agents would
You know
do.
how to
And
do it all then.
yeah, so I did all that, and that prepped me, Of course, I don't do that anymore. But it was a learning experience and it did help me a lot and my craft and my skill, right? And that's what I tell people that are newer agents, like, hey, you have to be obsessed with being obsessed of getting better. Like I still listen to podcasts while I'm working out, while I'm in my mobile university, right, car, and I'm doing self-development stuff or real estate related podcasts. Like I'm going to the Tom Ferry Success Summit, August 3rd to the 5th, in Anaheim. I do coaching, and for me, and I also coach and mentor other people. I still continue to do that. And I'm doing another conference, at the end of September that's in Denver. It's just like for me, it's about always getting better and being in that journey, and I think that fulfills me getting better and knowing that I'm staying sharp, right? Because I don't want this young buck over here thinking like, oh, well, you don't know the latest technology. Like, yes, I do, and I know it better than you. So,
No, I'm the same way. I have to get myself around other people. You got to stay
yeah,
motivated. It's
yep,
you're self-driven, and like it's so easy to just take a day off or sleep in
yep,
when you don't have a boss to tell you what to do. And it's you got to keep whatever works for you to keep yourself driven to get
yep.
everything done, and not even just to get it done, to operate at a high level. Otherwise, it's you're just gonna fade out.
Yeah, like right now after we get off, like I'm gonna call back my mentee that I help her with some stuff she's doing. Then I have a listing I need to write a contract I need to write up what they say they want to move forward. Then I have a different listing appointment for 5:30 for a sell and buy, So it's just like boom, 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 gotta go.
I love it, Juan. Well, if people are like, "Hey, I like your jive," or I'm interested to learn more, to learn about coaching, or learn about having you as a realtor, or investments, or anything else, how do they get a hold of you?
So, of course, I have different platforms, but I think the most fun to know the person who I am with my stories and posts and reels and all that, right? Is just Instagram. So at Juan Juan and then Munoz Munoz real estate, Juan Munoz real estate, at Juan Munoz real estate, and you'll find me there, right? And that has a lot of my stuff there. Yeah, I can give you my website and my LinkedIn and all that, but Instagram has most of the stuff. And people actually, I've done a couple other podcasts, and someone reached out to me like and say, "Hey, I love your story. I'm in the same position of and I messaged them back, and they, "Oh, no way, you answered." Like and like, "Oh, you can talk." And I was like, "Yeah, we can talk today at 5, whatever." And he was super excited, and like we're talking on the phone, and I actually challenged him. Like, you told me your story, da da da. Well, I want to see you at the summit in Anaheim, California. I was like, oh, but he told me he lived in California. Oh, so like an hour and a half. I'm like, hey, there's no excuse then. I'm flying from Denver to go, and I
Yeah.
don't necessarily need this, but you said you're excited, you want this and that. If you're gonna be there, it's because you believe in yourself. You're gonna better yourself. If I don't see you there, it's because you're not gonna make it. He was like, whoa. I was like, I know that was a little intense, but I'm challenging you. And then sometimes people need to challenge you to get your butt off the seat and being stop up being a procrastinator, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
anyway.
Accountability. You need someone to get
Yeah,
you accountable. All right.
yeah.
I always like even get my students. I'm like, hey, book a call, and then you have to get all this done by this date. And then,
Hmm.
sometimes they do it all the night before, but
That's
you
what it
get
is,
stuff
right?
done.
That's how people act. That's how it's human nature. You wait till you have a whole month, and you could
Yeah.
get it done in like 3 days. And if you give it 3 days, you'll get it done, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Same with school. You do writing exams, or prepping for exams, or writing
yep,
papers. Last
yep.
second, always. Anyway, Juan, thanks so much for coming on the show. A lot of fun. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
That was a nice video. Bye.